Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I'm so excited to be here today. It sounds like we're going to have a cozy session, and I'm in Texas, and it's below 50 degrees, which is a shock. And in London, it's raining. So everyone, grab your tea, your coffee, and let's dive into this cozy session. I'm so excited to have you, Diana. And for those of you who don't know, she is the social media executive at the Folio Society, which is a publishing company. So she's going to walk us through crafting your perfect social media portfolio, which is so crucial for building your personal brand, landing clients, gaining your next role. So excited to dive into the session with you.
Amazing. Thank you so much for the introduction, and thank you so much for everyone for joining. Yes, it is a very rainy day here in London. It's been raining since the morning, and my dog has been pestering me because he wanted to go out today during my lunch break, but it was literally raining. So I was like, no, Bubs, unfortunately, not today. So he is here with us underneath my feet. Bless him. So yeah, guys, I'm really excited to be here and be able to talk to you about crafting a social media portfolio. It literally changed my life when I created one last year when I was applying for roles. I also had one in 2023 when I was freelancing, and I can't wait to show you guys just a little bit more about how to craft one. I know there's a lot of conversation about it online, particularly on TikTok that I see, and I just feel like there's a lot of information going around and sometimes it's not tailored. I think there are different portfolios based on what you're looking for, whether that be freelancing or whether that be you're going to apply for your next role. I think they all sort of like come under the same umbrella, but I think they all have different things within them. So I can't wait to share that with you guys. So yeah, let's kick it off.
And I'm just gonna note too that we will have a live Q&A at the end. So if you do have questions, feel free to leave them in the chat. We'll get to them at the end.
Amazing. Perfect. So, as I said, here's just a little bit of what we're going to be touching on today. So, number one, what are social media portfolios and the different types? Number two, what to include in a social media portfolio with examples. I always love a little bit of examples. I hate going into, let's say, panels or conversations or webinars where there's a lot of information thrown at you, but there's no examples. Like, I don't know where to go. So, it's really important for me to share that with you guys. And number three is or how to structure an effective social media portfolio. So again, something that you guys can at least take away from this webinar, and of course a Q&A session as well. At the end, we can ask questions, but also feel free to pop them in as we go through the webinar, just in case you forget them. Perfect. So, who am I? My name is Diana Colasas Ibarra, and I have been in the social media space for over 4 years now. It's been 4 years in September, and it's like, where has time gone? I'm currently the social media executive at the Folio Society. We are a UK independent book publisher, and I've been there for a year and 9 months now. So, it's been a while. I came in to literally change things around with my manager. So, it's been such an amazing experience to be there, be able to really make a change, make a difference, and be able to see it. And I think that's the beauty when you do join, I would say, small businesses where you are able to see the impact that you do. I am also a public speaker. I can't believe that I'm saying that because earlier this year, for me, I was like, if I get probably like a speaking gig or two, I'll be so proud of myself. And currently, we're now on number 23. Honestly, I don't even know
Wow.
how that's happened, but it is. And Diana, from let's say when I was 9 in school, would be very terrified because I would hate even putting my hand up in school. So I've come a very long way. And finally, I'm also, I would say, I don't know what to call this, maybe like a content creator, a LinkedIn influencer. I would say a little bit of both, maybe. I don't know what the terminology is now, but I do have a presence on LinkedIn and I do post there quite regularly, talk a lot about what it's like working in the social media industry. I know a lot of people love a little bit of fluff, like it's, just coffees and matcha and your laptop. And listen, there's so much more into it. And that's what I love to share on LinkedIn, just be a little bit more real and be able to help people that want to get into the industry or other members as well that are in the same position as me, because we need to help each other. It's not an easy industry and it's not an easy role. So we're all in this together. So that's
Absolutely.
me.
I just dropped Diana's LinkedIn as well, so go connect
Yes.
with her. Yes, highly recommend. And yeah. We all need
Yeah,
to support each other, right? I love that.
we do. Yes, I would love to connect with anyone that's on here. I had a little like slides that everyone can introduce themselves, but I'm not sure. Like we can see it on the chat, can't we?
Um, we can, yeah, we can see when people comment if their,
If
their
you guys
role,
want to
their,
say hello whilst I get
yes.
started, let us know where where you are, if you're in-house freelancing, or if you're just exploring the social media world. Love to know, just so that it's not just me just talking at you guys. So yeah, I'll leave that there. So yeah, just want to talk a little bit before we dive into the hard stuff, my story and why I'm so passionate about portfolios. So in 2023, I was freelancing as a social media manager. I had quite a few clients. I was managing a few projects here and there. I was literally in the midst of it for about a year until early last year, 2024. For loads of reasons, I decided that unfortunately I had to stop freelancing and go back to a 9 to 5 role, a full-time role working for a brand. And I decided that I think that was the end of January. And when I did, I started applying, did my CV, digged up my CV again, and started polishing it, applying, and I was getting nothing. I was getting rejections. I wasn't hearing back. I was literally, there was just nothing coming through. And I would think, what is going on? Obviously, I knew that the market was quite difficult and it was very competitive now in the industry, but I didn't know it was that hard until I was literally scrolling on TikTok, as you do, and I started to see someone talk about marketing portfolios. And I was like, oh, this is really interesting. And so I literally dived a little bit deeper and I realized that a lot of people were now attaching a portfolio when they were applying for roles. And I was like, oh, this is quite funny because I thought portfolios were only for freelancers. That's your way of showing your potential clients the work that you've done, who you've worked with, and testimonials. But I realized that no, it's not just for freelancers, it's also for people in the working world, in the full-time working world. And that's when I literally started to create mine. I created it on Canva and I added it as a link on my CV. So when people would see my CV, they could also have a link through to my portfolio. And literally, as soon as I did that, a week after, I started to get so much more interview requests. I was going into interviews, and finally, after 3 weeks, I landed three final offers that unfortunately I had to decline two, and I went with the Folio Society, which is where I am now. So that's just a little bit about my story and why I'm so passionate about portfolios. It literally changed my life. I don't know what would have happened if I didn't create one. And so I want to support other people in the social media space, either when it comes to freelancing or they are applying for roles, what they need to do and how to create one so that they can also get a head start on that. So that's just
Yeah,
a little bit about
I
my
love
story.
that. I think that especially as how competitive the industry is, and a lot of our resumes and our cover letters have to be so succinct, right? And how can you show them, give them an extra sneak peek into your life, into your impact, into your creative style? And I think that's the whole kind of point, right, of the portfolio, is giving them more of showing them who you are beyond a CV, beyond a cover letter. So I love that it opened doors for you, and I think it's just a way, also a creative outlet to show what your work is, what your style is, and obviously the impact.
Absolutely, I agree. And I think, as you said, because in the CV you're so limited to what you can mention, it's like a highlight reel that you have only in your
Mhm.
CV. And I think adding that sort of layer of your portfolio where you can show a little bit more of, like, let's say, the visual side of things, because in your CV you talk about it, you list it, you bullet point it, you add some numbers, but in your portfolio you're able to bring it all together with some visuals as well and a little bit more detail. So it literally just adds that sort of another level for employers, clients to just get to know you a little bit more. So 100%, and that's why I love it, and that's why I learned to love them as well.
Mhm.
So yeah, just want to talk a little bit about what is a social media portfolio. So in the day and age of AI, of course, I had to ask ChatGPT, and it said to me that a social media portfolio is a collection of your best work that shows your skills, your experience, and your results. And it highlights what we've just spoken about, the content that you've created, the campaigns you've worked on, and the impact that you've done on social media through the various experiences that you've had. And I can't lie, ChatGPT gave me a pretty good answer. But I want to add a little bit of another layer to it as to what social media portfolios are to me. So, like I said, it's a clear visual. I would say very, very visual because you are able to add so much more into it, way of showcasing your best work. It highlights the strategy. You can talk a little bit about your thought process behind it, the story, like the thinking of why you've done what you've done, and whatever you are showing, you can just go into a little bit more depth. And I think that's what really makes it special and helps you stand out. And yeah, show why you deserve to have the role or have the client. So, what are the different types of portfolio? So, I'm going to start with in house, which is where I am now, and I can see maybe a few people are in house as well. So the purpose of a social media portfolio for someone working in house is to complement your CV. So think of it, like I said, as a visual extension of your CV. So somewhere where you're able to bring your experience to life. And with that, it's where you can go deeper into your storytelling, showcasing content examples, performance stats, so any numbers that you've got. For example, I started the Instagram account at 200K and we're now at 250. You're able to showcase that. You're able to add a little bit more screenshots of the data behind the platforms and the outcomes as well. Something that unfortunately you can't say in your CV, again, because we're so restrained with how much you can tell on your CV. I think this is what an in-house portfolio does. It's literally an extension. And I say this because when I was scrolling on TikTok, I would see a lot of people say, oh, you can add, your work experience, you can add your hobbies. And that's amazing, I guess, in a freelance side, which I'll speak on in a few moments. But when you already have a CV, your CV already covers that. The potential employer doesn't need to replicate or see that again because you've already said that. And your portfolio should be an extension of your CV if you are applying for in-house roles.
100%.
And then we've got the freelance one. So a freelance one, it's a place to show your current work, your past projects, and the work that you're most proud of. It's also somewhere where you can show, I guess, a little bit more of your education, your qualifications, and most importantly, your client testimonials, because I know you are building that trust and that credibility with a potential client. So it just has a little bit more detail, of course. And in my time when I was freelancing, some clients actually asked me for a CV, but very minimal, very small percentage. The rest of them were like, oh, can we just see your portfolio? And so if you are freelancing, a portfolio has a little bit more detail. You can share a lot more that you want, as opposed to, let's say, if you are working in-house where you've already covered a lot of it through your CV. So those are the difference between the two.
I guess would you say, not to interrupt, but for in-house and freelance, I would you say that it's recommended to tune in to one industry or to kind of, if you have touched and worked in multiple industries for the freelance, like to really show kind of that breadth of work?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there is I actually saw someone talk about niching down and tailoring, I guess, your CV and portfolio depending on what you're doing. And I think I would say that sort of goes into more so if you are applying for in-house, because in-house is a little bit more strict, is a little bit more competitive. There's so many candidates going at a particular job at a given time, whereas if you are freelancing, there is that chance that they are probably looking out to get some support, but you are able to show a little bit more breadth of what you've done. And I guess this is only from my experience. I would say that the more experience you had as a freelancer, I guess the more credibility it would give you. And so I guess that is the difference between the two. That whereas freelancing, you can go on and say everything that you've done, or if you want to tailor it and show your best work, you can. Whereas if you are in house, I have heard a lot about that niching down and tailoring to the particular industry that you are applying for, just so that it kind of like helps you stand out from a pool of really a lot of candidates going on for one
Yeah,
particular job.
absolutely.
Yeah. So perfect. So now we're going to go into what to include in a social media portfolio. So number one, we will start off with an about me page, and that goes on for both types. So that is basically writing a concise overview of your career so far. You will highlight your key experiences, skills, achievements, all relevant to social media marketing. And of course, because I have seen someone from Switzerland and they are just starting a newbie in the social media space, it's a way for you to share a quick backstory from your journey so far and what sparked your passion for social media marketing. I think a lot of people get scared if they don't have any experience beforehand. They're like, no, I don't have any. I don't have anything to add to the portfolio, so I can't make one. No, this is a chance for you to actually show as well why you're passionate, because I know there's so many brands out there that really want that fresh talent and give them an opportunity as well. So use this section to say what sparked your passion and why you want to start a career or a journey in social media marketing.
I love that.
So here's a little bit of example. I did say I did have examples because I hate going to something and not seeing something visual. So this is one that I've created myself with a little bit of an example of what I've written. So we're just going to go around. So number one is make sure to shout about your achievements. So one thing is saying it. I know a lot of people can say, oh yeah, I've grown this Instagram account and that's amazing, but let's make it a little bit more credible. Let's add a little bit more numbers to add that credibility. And of course, if you do have access to them, or if you are managing social media accounts, one mistake that I did at the very beginning was not tracking my achievements. So I didn't, when I first started a role, I didn't screenshot the account so that I could look back and see how far we've come. So make sure you do that. So whenever you need to share it in your CV or your portfolio, you're able to add these numbers. So for example, here I've said I've increased the Instagram account from 208k to 223k in 4 months, and that is one of my biggest achievements, which I add straight onto the about me page. I keep it brief, I keep it short and sweet, because obviously we've got a lot of things to talk about throughout the rest of the portfolio, so I aim to do between 3 to 5 points. And again, another point, if you are starting out in the social media space and you have no experience, share what excites you from the industry, talk about why you're interested, and highlight highlight in the portfolio any mock projects or content that you've created. So another thing, which unfortunately we won't touch on too much here on this webinar, but something that I do say is, if you are starting out or looking to get into the industry, it's really lovely to start creating mock campaigns so that people can see the creative skills and also just thought process within marketing that you have, so you can talk about that within your about me page. And if you want to talk about that more, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn and I'll be more than happy to walk through more on that. And of course, add a headshot or a LinkedIn profile image so that they can see you. So that's your about me page.
I love that. I love the call out to mock-up projects, because I think
Yeah,
that that can go into passion projects as well. And,
absolutely.
that's where you're going to showcase, like you said, the things that you're excited about in this space, in this industry. And if you're excited about it, if you're passionate about it, then that's going to show in your design and in your work and the passion project. So
Absolutely.
I saw that Jesus is, looking for a job in graphic design, ideally with perfume brands. So if you're looking where to get started, then maybe start creating those mock-up
Yeah,
designs,
absolutely.
for get inspiration from current perfume brand campaigns, and start to create that. So I think that's a great call out.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've seen a lot of people, not necessarily if you don't want to, but a lot of people on TikTok have started to use visual videos to apply for roles. So they
Mm-hmm.
would get a current campaign and be like, if I was the graphic designer at, I don't know, let's say Kylie Jenner, sorry, that was the first brand that came up to because she's got a perfume. So, let's say you've seen a campaign that they've done on social, or a particular graphic that they've done, you can take it and create a video of you creating your own version of that and posting it. And a lot of people have actually gained roles and opportunities from putting themselves out there. And I think it's a little bit difficult because nowadays it going into marketing does require you to take that step, that one more step, to be able
Mm-hmm.
to get into it. I know it's hard and I know it's quite difficult, and a lot of people are, oh, but I don't want to do it. But unfortunately, I think with the state of the industry, you do sometimes have to go above and beyond to be able to get seen, especially if you're not getting any responses or invites to interviews. Sometimes it does mean that you have to take that step ahead. And I know it's work, but yeah, that's basically a little bit on that. But yeah,
Yeah.
didn't want to digress too much on that. But yeah, just wanted to add to that point. So secondly, we've got case study pages. So these showcase the visual, the strategies, and the results of campaigns you've led, content you've created, and the social media channels that you've managed, or the mock-ups that you've created to demonstrate your skill. So this is the bread and butter of your portfolio. So these are pages that you will have plenty of them. I currently have in my portfolio, which I haven't updated very recently, which is bad of me. I think I have like about, let's say, 4 campaigns that I talk about in my portfolio, in which I go a little bit into depth of them with them. I show my stats, my visuals, and they just have a little bit of everything, which I'll show in the example shortly. So yes, examples of previous work and mock-ups that you can include. So it's any specific social media campaigns that you've worked on, content creation pieces, social media performance summaries. So if you are able to share the screenshots of the analytics, you can include that. And yeah, so that's examples of what you can. And you've got like a little part two. So here is like a little checklist that I always go by when I'm designing these pages, on what they need to have. So number one, you've got an overview. So give a quick summary of what you are showcasing alongside key outcomes and include numbers where you can. So this is why I say heavy on the numbers. Create an achievements log where you can pop in all of these numbers or keep screenshots for record as well. Number two is skills and tools. So mention any social media skills or tools that you've used. Now in the industry, there's so many tools that actual employers and clients actually ask if you know how to use them. So sometimes I see let's say like Metrical is one of them. If you use Google Analytics, if you use like SEMrush, Hootsuite, like there's just so many that you can use. So it's important that if you have used any of these softwares or particular social media tools, make sure to add them in there as well because it will help stand out as well. And finally, any analytics. So what I've been banging on about for the last 5 minutes, analytics. So add any screenshots of them if you have them, just to back up your results that you are showing them. So that's what to add for them. And here's just an example. Of course, we love a little bit of an example. So we'll go around again. So number one is to include a short summary of what you're showcasing. So have that alongside your key outcomes and back it up with numbers if possible. I feel like everyone's going to hate me now because I've been saying numbers and analytics so much, but please, it really helps. And I've not added it on here, but another reason why it helps is that within marketing, you will be handling a lot of data. You will be handling a lot of reporting. So one of the things that I do as a social media manager, I do weekly and monthly reports. So what that means is that I have to take all of these numbers and I have to share it in a weekly presentation to my team. And I also have to do it on a monthly basis to share it in my team. So by using these numbers from now, it shows a potential employer or client that you know how to use numbers and you know how to translate what the performance of social media is doing into actual numbers, into tangible results that they can take away with them. So that's why I bang on about numbers, because you will need it and it's a very important skill to have when you work in marketing, not just social media on its own. So yeah, like I said, so using data and numbers shows employers and clients that you know how to interpret and apply insights effectively. So really important that if you start from your portfolio, it will help you massively within your role. And then if you can, like I've said before, provide examples of metrics, numbers, and analytics. And of course, if you've got visuals, add them as well. I don't think I can play this, and I'm not going to play it right now. It's just so that it messes up the whole system. But yeah, so I've got in this example, I've added a video so that the potential employer or candidate can actually click on it and see an example of my work.
Absolutely. I think that even if you aren't a numbers or analytics person, the beauty is that there are tools and summaries and, whether you're pulling analytics natively from Instagram, from TikTok, or using a
Yeah,
tool like having summarized analytics with Metricool or pulling your reports,
yeah.
then, if you are looking at the numbers like, I don't even know what this means for myself, then use AI, use other sources to help you kind of tell that story. And not that you have to, copy and paste that, but help
Mhm.
you, brainstorm and ideate, okay, what does this mean? How can I really use this to leverage kind of this example. So I know that the numbers can sometimes be a little bit overwhelming, but you do have some external resources to help you, especially with the summaries.
Absolutely. And I can put my hand up and say I use AI a lot to help me, like ChatGPT, especially when I've got so much numbers and I don't know how to best translate them. When I first started these reportings, I didn't know what was the best way to show them. And so ChatGPT really helped me as well. I'm just looking at the comment chat, and I know someone said, "What kind of analytics are you allowed to share that won't flag you for
Mhm.
NDA?" And that is actually another question that I had at a previous session that I did with regarding social media portfolios. And I think the best answer for that is to I would say just double check with your employer to see what you can and can't share. Obviously, because this was a client of mine, she didn't mind it. She was a very small business, only two people. She didn't mind. Obviously, now that I work at the Folio Society, it can be a very different story. And so, if you can't share the screenshots, that's absolutely fine. But as long as you've got the numbers with you, so I've got a whole Google Sheets where I've added different timelines of when I've achieved certain milestones, and that's absolutely okay. Obviously, I know employers won't be like, no, you're lying, because I mean, social media is open to everyone, so everyone can actually go and have a
Right.
look at the accounts and stuff. So as long as you yourself, you are taking notes of these milestones, just in a normal Google sheet, that's more than enough for you to talk about them. If you can't, the NDA contracts and stuff, so it can be a little bit of it. But if you can as well, you can talk to your managers and your team and see what they say, if that's allowed or not. But I think it will be on a case by case basis that
Yeah.
that is. And yeah,
That's a good question. That's
yeah,
a tricky one for sure. But
it is
yeah, I think, overall it's talking with the employer, talking with that client
absolutely.
of, okay, how can I utilize this? And for them too, if there is an NDA, then obviously there needs to be kind of that communication. But I
Yeah,
think it can work kind of a win-win for both because you're leveraging those results and showing, okay, we were able to achieve these results, and that
yeah,
gives them a little bit of awareness as well. So
yeah,
yeah, tricky
absolutely.
question, but a good
Yeah,
good answer
yeah.
to it.
And I think there will always be a word, like, as long as you know yourself, your milestones, that's the most important thing. Just because when I started, I didn't write anything down, and so when it was time to like do my CV or talk about what I've done, I was like, I actually I don't remember. I don't remember anything. And so to avoid that mistake, just write it down. And if you want to just check with your clients, and yeah, you can. And then
Mhm.
yeah, that's what we can do. So sorry, just because I saw a lot of NDA coming up, and I was like, I've been asked this before, so let me just answer it now as well.
No, that's perfect.
Um, so cool. So this is now a little bit more on the optional side, and I think this works, I would say, for both freelance and in-house, and that's having a personal projects page, which is optional. So in this section of your portfolio, you will showcase any personal projects or standout experiences that you do outside of your job. So I know a lot of people in the marketing space have blogs. They do a lot of public speaking engagements. They do content, articles, blog features. They've got career awards as a team, or they even do brand partnerships if you're creators, etc. Like there's a lot of things that we do outside of our normal 9 to 5 or with our clients that you know it should be spoken about because it still is to do with social media marketing. So this is something that I've actually included this year. I never done it before, but I thought it's a really lovely thing to add, and especially with a lot of us now being a little bit more active outside of our us day to day or clients. And if you don't have anything to add right now, don't worry. I think this is something that you will start, let's say, ranking up as you go along within your career and with your clients, etc. But if you do have something, definitely don't disregard it, and not mention it in your portfolio. Oh,
He's getting up. He's like, my dog has been sitting on my lap, and he's like, time to go bark at something
yeah.
outside.
Amazing. So here's just a little bit of an example of how I've done my personal projects. Again, this is from last year, so I've not updated it. So everything here is quite old. But yeah, so one of the things that I do is that I mention any projects or experiences outside of my main job or business. And this applies both, like I said, to freelancers and full time. So here's where you can add a little bit more depth and a little bit more personality, I think, to your portfolio. We are much more than what we achieve with social media campaigns, etc. And if you do things outside that, it's amazing. So yeah, and if you can add relevant images to support the projects that you're talking about. That could be headshots, photos of you speaking at events, or screenshots of like a blog that you do, or anything to support what you're going on, anything in your work life. That would be amazing. So here's how to structure for an in-house portfolio. So just to summarize everything that we've just gone through. So here are I would say the 5 things that I would say that you need. So number one, you need a title page, make it nice and clean. I think one of the things that I would say like my pet peeves when it comes to portfolios is that there's just so much going on. There's a lot of clutter. There's a lot of information everywhere, and even just the design as well. Keep it like really simple because remember these are people, employers in particular. They're very busy. They're looking at CVs like it's nothing, and they will spend a few seconds looking at it. And if you've made it as far as they will check your portfolio, you still need to make it very short, not I wouldn't say short, but very digestible so that they can literally skim through it. And if you catch their attention even more, at least they'll take the time to read it through. So very important that you keep it like just simple and digestible as well. Number two, so you got your about me page, again, simple, digestible, your case study pages. So you can include as many as you want from these. This is your bread and butter, the main body of your portfolio. So feel free to add as many as you want. Of course, that make it overly long. Again, if you are applying for roles, remember these employers or internal recruiters or recruiters in general just don't have a lot of time. They're just looking for people to bring into the role. So very important that you keep it concise as possible. You've got your personal projects page as well. If you've got something to add there, really, really important. And a final page as well. Include your contact details and a thank you note. I know if you are attaching it to your CV, you will have your contact details, but it doesn't hurt to do them again, just so that if that's the last thing they see, at least they've got it to hand and they don't need to go back to your CV. And then we've got a structure for a freelance portfolio. So similar to an in-house one, but I think there's a little bit more to add. So number one, you've got your title page, your about me page, and I've added here like a work overview as well. And I've not added it onto this slide, but I would also say is a great time to add some testimonials as well. So share any clients that you've worked with, the impact that you've made through your work to their business, and any client testimonies that you have will work really, really well here just to catch the attention of that client. So if they're passing through, they can see what people have said about your work and they'll be more intrigued to actually go through more and see the work that you have done in your case study pages. Again, you've got the personal projects page, which if you can and if you want, you can add on to that. And then a final page, which is really important. And again, a lot of people underestimate the power of this final page if you are freelancing. So here's where your final, like the final stage that your potential client will go through. They've looked at all your work. They want to work with you. They want to know more about you, but you've got no details. And it's like, I know obviously you probably have an email or something, but it's just important to have those details there or how they can book an introductory call with you just so that they know what the next steps are. And I think a lot of people miss out from clients just because they don't have any next steps on what to do that the client can follow through. So really important, small detail, but very effective to have.
For kind of this freelance portfolio part, for those that are listing their services, do you think it's better to kind of include it in that work overview or kind of at that final page of, next steps of how you could, what services you could use?
Absolutely. I think that's actually a good one, which I didn't add here. And I would say I think it's quite optional to do that. I think a lot of people, if they just want to keep their portfolio as a way to just show the previous work that they have done with other clients, that's great. But I know that I guess for agencies or like a little bit more I would say like freelance social media managers have got a little bit more clients or they've got like a bigger system overall, like in their business. I know they'll want to add a services page, so they absolutely can. And I would even put that just before the final page, just a few services that they can go for, or even within the case study pages, they can talk about, we provided this client with this service and this is what it sort of looked like. But if they, of course, offer more things that they haven't shown within their case study pages, then they're more than welcome to add like an additional one for I guess services, or they can of course just talk about that more in the introductory call with them, or
Right.
they've got a separate PDF as well, which I've seen as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
multiple options.
multiple options, and I think it just depends on like how they want to work, and if they want to have a full-on portfolio, then yeah, absolutely. I think that services page is definitely important so that at least they know, or unless they've already spoken about that, and they were like, okay, so here's my portfolio based on this, and here you can
Right.
see the previous work. But I think that's the thing with freelancing. I feel like there's no right answer. It's whatever works for you. And I think that's one of the things that I think I liked, but I hated the most when I was freelancing myself. I just didn't know what to
Right.
do.
Yeah. You don't have a one answer. It's a
No.
anything goes.
Anything goes, anything that works for you, that works
Mhm.
for how you want to do your business. And yeah, and I think that's the love and hate relationship that some people have with freelancing. So yeah, that's that. Um, and now we've come to like the final, I would say, stage. I didn't know that did animate. I was just looking
Oh.
up go up a little bit. But yeah, no, just if we've had so much information, I've thrown so much information at you guys, and of course, if you haven't done a portfolio before or you want to refresh, Metrical has an amazing portfolio and pricing template. So definitely on the portfolio, it helps both for in-house roles and freelancers, and of course pricing template will help for those in within freelancing, and the link is there in the chat. And I think definitely on the pricing one would help massively. I had no clue how I was pricing myself when I was freelancing, and yeah, that was a whole world in itself. So this is a really nice thing from the team at Metrical to be able to do these templates and share with you guys, because I didn't have that when I was freelancing. So yeah, that is there for you guys if you want to take on everything that we've covered in this session today and start creating your own portfolio as well.
Yes, absolutely. It's free to download. So there's two separate templates. One is, guides you through kind of, as we talked about today, just give you a template if you don't want to start from scratch. And then the pricing guide is right, really helpful, especially because pricing ranges can be all over the map, right? And there isn't really industry standard. So it doesn't have to be to the T of this service is X amount of dollars, but it does give you a guide, especially as you're starting to build your services list and just want to know, okay, what should I be charging for this? What is my time worth? So just giving you guys some guidance and some resources there.
I wish there was one similar for in-house one. Well, I guess not like a template, but definitely like I would say like a resource, because I think that also reflects onto those working in in-house roles. I think both in the US and in the UK, I don't think there's any standard at the moment or benchmarks right now. And I think that's why role titles within social media marketing and even salaries in itself are all over across the board, because I think there's just no standard right now. And I think, yeah, hopefully someone's able to make like a I don't know, like a research or something based on that could help us to help the industry, because I think that is something that's quite a big topic to cover, but no one
Yeah.
has just yet. And that's it. Thank you so much, guys, for listening, and for the questions. I hope this has been really helpful. I hope at least you're able to take something away from this session, so that you guys can apply it into your own portfolio. So yeah, thank you so much for spending like 40 minutes, nearly 40 minutes listening to me. And hopefully it's been helpful.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining. I pinned some of the questions, so I'm going to
Okay,
go
let's
back
hit it.
and show them on the screen. So this one is from Vita, who is also in Texas. So shout out my fellow Texans. She asked, creating a portfolio is on my to-do list. What are the best media to use these days? PDF, website, or both? That is a great question.
That is a very good question. So I would divide that into answers. So if you are applying for a role, I would say a website, so that you are able to get a link, and that link you can apply it to your CV. So that's how I've done it when I was applying for this role here at Folio and others as well. I just had my one-page CV. I had a portfolio link and I added the link, and that means that when the potential employer or my manager, actually, when she looked at my CV, she clicked on it, and she went onto my portfolio. So that's if you are applying for in-house roles. If you are freelancing, I guess the world is your oyster. I hate that it is, but it literally depends on what you want and how you want to present yourself. You can do both PDF, website, both. I know freelancers that've got a website and it shows everything from client services, pricing, or I've got some clients that don't have a website at all and they do everything manually through PDF, through email, etc. So those are my two answers.
For, I guess, your website, what website host did you use? I'm just curious.
At the time, I actually didn't have a website when I was freelancing, but I do recall a lot of people using Squarespace or
Mhm.
Wix for their websites. And I guess it depends on how dynamic and how much are going to be added onto the website. Because if it's just a simple website with just a little bit of information and maybe like a form for people to contact you, then of course you can just go to even Shopify. I know it really depends, but I know the
Right.
most popular ones are Wix or Squarespace for something like that.
Yeah. Nice. Okay, this one is from Jesus. Do you think that Behance is a great platform to display a creative portfolio, or do you recommend something else?
Oh, so I actually don't know what Behance is, so I will be adding that to my to-do list to figure out what that is.
Same.
So I actually didn't know that. So that's we learn something new every day. And in terms of, so I can only speak from what I use, and I use Canva, and that's what I've basically been using all my life since it came about and I started in the industry. And I guess because what it does, especially because I need it for a link, so I do my presentation on Canva and then I make it go live as a website, and then that website link is what I use to put onto my CV. But yeah, I would love to answer that in a little bit more detail. So I will look into it. And if you want, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn and we can have a chat about it.
I think that the main point though is that whatever design tool you're most comfortable
Yeah,
with, it's like for me, Canva is my go-to because I really like the interface and so if that's what you feel most comfortable with, then that's awesome. I think that you should go with that.
absolutely.
I don't think that any
Absolutely.
design tools or creative portfolio tools are off the table.
Agreed.
Okay, another one from Vita. When creating mock-up designs, what are the best ways to present them in a portfolio? That's a great question.
That's a very great question. And I think I would still go with the same way that I've formatted any of the case study pages. So the main important thing is to have a little bit of a description of what you're showcasing. And if you can, a little bit of the thought process, your key your key way of thinking of why you've come up with that mock idea, and of course the visual side of things as well. And just to go back from the other question, one of the reasons why I love Canva is that you are actually able to add videos as well, which I'm pretty sure maybe on other platforms you can as well. But because I've used Canva before, you can literally add a video, and you can I think you can do a toggle where it won't
Mhm.
play automatically play. So it will be up to the person's discretion if they play it or not. And I think that's really lovely to have everything in there. So yeah, same with the mock-up designs. I would still use the same format as I've done with the case study pages, just so that everything it's all there, but not too much at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, another question. If you don't have the analytics, is it still worth adding in the campaign you worked on? Because I didn't track them at all,
Yeah.
which is totally, we talked about not tracking them in the beginning. And yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. When I first freelance and I needed to do a portfolio myself for clients, I had nothing at all. And so I had to use whatever was left in of my memory to literally just jot everything down whilst it was there. And I think I'll be honest with you, a lot of it wasn't accurate. They were all estimates, but at least I had something to fall back on with that. But I will still talk about it. I wouldn't disregard it at all, just because, especially if you've got some visuals, especially if you've got some like content or videos that you can add on to that, I feel like that's just more than enough. But take that obviously as a lesson, so that whenever you are working on other things, just take note of them. If you can't screenshot, like we said, for NDA purposes and and confidentiality, that's fine. But make sure that I started on this account at 50K, and by 8 months, the date, exactly the time, if you want to, we reached X amount and stuff. So as long as you keep record of that, then yeah. But if you don't have any of the analytics, still add it, as long as you've got something there to talk about, is more than enough.
Right. Yeah, because it can be, clients you've worked with, it can be
Exactly.
a number of content pieces you produced,
Exactly
any
that.
sort of media coverage you've received. It doesn't have to be strictly, okay, this got 4% engagement or this got 100 likes. I think that if you don't have those physical analytics on site, then, try to think of if there were other, if there were other points you can touch on to really highlight the
Agreed.
impact of the campaign or
Agreed.
content or work. Okay, this was another one. Hello from Italy. Hello. I was
Hello.
wondering if it would be possible to receive the slides from the presentation. So I'll let Diane answer that if you would
Yeah.
like to.
Yeah, absolutely. Do I send them to you and then you can send it over?
Yes. So she can send them to me and then I can send them in the follow-up email, which everyone who has signed up for this will receive. So that's also where you can watch back the replay for this video. So yes.
Amazing. Yes, I'll send it over.
Amazing. And then the last question we have, which is a great one, I think, to end off on. How do you balance doing personal projects with full-time work, especially if you have engagements during the working day? Couldn't be more real.
Couldn't be any more real and any more like to date right now, because it is during my working day at the moment. And so I will, before I answer that, I'll go back to the main question. So how do I do it? It's very tough and there's a lot of sacrifices and a lot of tired days where I'm only sleeping literally 5 hours or 6 hours. But I think because I love what I do, I love doing what I do outside of my full-time job. I love sharing advice and insights and experience that I've learned to pass it on to other people. It's all worthwhile. So, for example, I will finish my working day after this session. I'll do like another hour or so, and then I'll log off and I'll do a bit of cooking or whatever. And then I will spend a lot of my evenings creating content, writing LinkedIn posts, or preparing for sessions like this one today. And I'll go to bed quite late, but these are all sacrifices that I am willing to do. And it's not easy, I won't sit here and say, oh, everything's roses and perfect. It's not. It's a lot of hard work and I am tired a lot of the time, but it's all worth it. And even right now, for example, I took an hour. So instead of doing my lunch break, I'm doing my lunch break now to be able to do these things, or I will do an hour before work or after work. I'll just make up for the time at the end of the day. And I'm very grateful to be working at a space that is able to give me that flexibility, that as long as I'm doing my work, it's okay. So yeah, there's no balance. I think something always has to give in life when you are doing these things, especially when you're working full time. But as long as you know and you have in the middle, like in the center of everything, why you're doing what you're doing, it would all be worth it.
Right. Well, we appreciate you taking your lunch. And it's also, I think, adding on to this is taking those breaks, whether it's getting outside, because we are in a creative field and creativity can't be forced, right? So I'm fall to this too, where I'm sitting there like, oh, I have no creative juices flowing. And maybe those are the moments where you're like, all right, it's time to step outside, go touch some grass, get some food, do some cooking, do things that take you out of it. And that's what can really spark that creativity. And also, I think the personal projects, whereas, similar to work, we want to be able to get it done so quickly. And it might take some time, right? It might take just chipping away an hour a day for a few weeks, which might sound, you're like, oh, but I want to get this done now. I think that good things take time. So if you are looking to really build that personal project, then know that, it might take some time. And I think that's okay.
And that's all okay. It will like take time. But as long as I think you enjoy it and like I said, remember why you're doing it, because a lot of people are like, oh yeah, this is great, but because I'm only doing it because someone else is doing it. It's like, no, do it because you want to do it and you feel very passionate about it.
Yeah, I love that. Our question has been answered about Behance. So it
Okay.
is a page by Adobe and to display your project and elaborate on the process rather than show the final result. So that's really interesting. And I think, especially if you're elaborating on that process, I think that could come with its own sort of benefit and highlighting. I think that elaboration of the process is a really cool piece to
Yeah.
highlight on. Rather than just showing the final result, showing that strategy, showing the thought process behind it could be a really cool, different way to approach your portfolio.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I'm going to look into that. I've actually never come across the platform before. So yeah,
Absolutely.
I'll give
Okay,
it
last question. Sorry. Is paid ads something you can add to your portfolio? Does that count too? Absolutely.
Absolutely. So I actually do a lot of my content at Folio sometimes is used in our paid ads as well, and a lot of the video footage that I've done. So sometimes I need to crop them, I need to make them a little bit more snappier for paid ads, etc. So that is something that I would 100% put on my portfolio if it's or in your portfolio if it's something that you center on, because it's all still content creation at the end of the day. It's all under content.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Diana. The
No,
last
thank you very
resource
much.
I'm going to share with you all watching today is if you do want to try Metricool. So I know a lot of you mentioned, pulling analytics, pulling reports. If you do want to have those on-demand analytics, on-demand reports, Metricool is going to be a great resource for you. So you aren't having to jump into multiple tabs on Instagram and TikTok and having to manually extract that data. And also, as you're starting to build, whether it's your personal channels or in-house or freelance, then starting to really track that. So Metricool will help you track that. So, you don't have to be lost in the sheet. So I'm going to share a trial code for you if you want to try a Metricool's advanced plan, 30 days for free. So that unlocks things like reporting. You can pull in your Google Drive, your Canva, your Adobe Express directly into Metricool and start scheduling content. So it's going to help you have a central management system, which is key for organizing your work, for keeping sanity in this industry. So the code is portfolio 25, and I'm going to drop a link which will go directly to this code. So again, it's highly recommend if you're looking to have a central management system.
Amazing.
But thank you all today for joining, Diana. Thank you again. That was
Thank you so much,
amazing.
Kristen. It's been amazing.
And for all of you that signed up, you will receive an email afterwards. And of course, this session is also available to watch back. So feel free to watch it back, take some notes again. And I hope you all have a wonderful, beautiful day. I hope that the rain stops so you can take your pup
So
out on a
too,
walk.
yeah. But it's really dark now. So it's 5 p.m. in the UK and it's pitch black now. So yeah, I will so much probably take him around the block. But yeah.
Okay,
Thank you so
everyone,
much,
have a
everyone.
beautiful day, beautiful evening. Thank you again,
Thank
Diana.
you.
We'll see
Bye.
you all next